अयज्ञ प्रजा सृष्ट्वा पुरोवाचा प्रजापतिः अनेन प्रसविष्वध्यम् एष वोस्त्विष्ट कामधुक् देवान् भावयतानेन ते देवा भावयन्तु वः परस्परं भावयन्ता श्रेयः परमवाप्स्यत इष्टान् भोगान् हि ओ देवा दास्यन्ते यज्ञभाविताः तैर्दत्तान् अप्रदायैभ्यो यो भुङ्क्तेस्तेन एव सः यज्ञशिष्टाशिनः सन्तो मुच्यन्ते सर्वकिल्बिषैः भुञ्जते ते त्वघं पापा ये पचन्त्यात्मकारणात् अन्नाद् भवन्ति भूतानि पर्जन्यादन्न सम्भवः यज्ञाद् भवति पर्जन्यो यज्ञकर्म समुद्भवः कर्म ब्रह्मोद्भवं विद्धि ब्रह्माक्षर समुद्भवम् तस्मात् सर्वगतं ब्रह्म नित्यं यज्ञे प्रतिष्ठितम् एवं प्रवर्तितं चक्रं नानुवर्तयति हयः अघायुरिन्द्रियारामो मोघं पार्थ स जीवति यस्त्वात्मा रतिरेव स्यादात्मतृप्तश्च मानवः आत्मन्येव च सन्तुष्टस्तस्य कार्यं न विद्यते नैव तस्य कृतेनार्थो न कृतेनेह कश्चन न चास्य सर्वभूतेषु कश्चिदर्था व्यपाश्रयः तस्मादसक्त सततं कार्यं कर्म समाचर असक्तो ह्याचरन् कर्म परमाप्नोति पूरुषः कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धिम् आस्तीता जनकादयः लोकसंग्रहमेवापि सम्पश्यं कर्तुमर्हसि यद्यद् आचरति श्रेष्ठस्तद्धत् एवेतरो जनः स यत्प्रमाणं कुरुते लोकस्तदनुवर्तते न मे पार्थास्ति कर्तव्यं त्रिषु लोकेषु किञ्चन नानवाप्तम् अवाप्तव्यं वर्त एव च कर्मणि यदीहं न वर्तेयं जातु कर्मण्यतन्द्रितः मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते मनुष्या पार्थ सर्वशः उत्सिदेयुरिमे लोका न कुर्यां कर्म चेदहम् संकरस्य च कर्ता स्याम् उपहन्यामि मा प्रजाः सक्ता कर्मण्य विद्वांसो यथा कुर्वन्ति भारत कुर्याद् विद्वांस्तथा सक्तश्चिकीर्षुर्लोकसङ्ग्रहम् न बुद्धिभेदं जनयेदज्ञानं कर्मसङ्गिनाम् जोषयेत् सर्वकर्माणि विद्वान् युक्तसमाचरन् प्रकृते क्रियमाणानि गुणैः कर्माणि सर्वशः अहंकार विमूढात्मा कर्ताहम् इति मन्यते तत्त्ववित्तु महाबाहो गुणकर्म विभागयोः गुणागुणेषु वर्तन्त इति मत्वा न सज्जते प्रकृतेर्गुणसम्मूढा सज्जन्ते गुणकर्मसु तान् कृत्स्नविदो मन्दान् कृत्स्नविन्न विचालयेत् मयि सर्वाणि कर्माणि सन्न्यस्याध्यात्मचेतसा निराशीर्निर्ममो भूत्वा युध्यस्व विगतज्वरः येमे मतम् इदं नित्यम् अनुतिष्ठन्ति मानवाः श्रद्धावन्तो न सूयन्तो मुच्यन्ते तेऽपि कर्मभिः ये त्वेतदभ्यसूयन्तो नानुतिष्ठन्ति मे मतम् सर्वज्ञानविमूढांस्तान् विद्धि नष्टान् चेतसः सदृशं चेष्टते स्वस्य प्रकृतेर्ज्ञानवानपि प्रकृतिं यान्ति भूतानि निगृह किं करिष्यति इन्द्रियस्येन्द्रियस्यार्थे रागद्वेषौ व्यवस्थितौ तयोर्न वशमागच्छेत् तौ ह्यस्य परिपन्तिनौ श्रेयान् स्वधर्मो विगुणः परधर्मा स्वनुस्थितात् स्वधर्मे निधनं श्रेय परधर्मो भयावहः अर्जुन उवाच अथ केन प्रयुक्तोऽयं पापं चरति पूरुषः अनिच्छन्नपि वार्ष्णेय बलादिव नियोजितः श्रीभगवानुवाच काम एष क्रोध एष रजो गुणसमुद्भवः महाशनो महापाप्मा विद्येनम् इह वैरिणम् धूमेनाव्रियते वह्निर्यथा धर्षो मलेन च यतोल्बेनावृतो गर्भस्तथा तेनेदमावृतम् आवृतं ज्ञानमेतेन ज्ञानिनो नित्यवैरिणा कामरूपेण कौन्तेय दुष्पूरेणानलेन च इन्द्रियाणि मनोबुद्धिरस्याधिष्ठानमुच्यते एतैर्विमोहयत्येषा ज्ञानमावृत्य देहिनम् तस्मात् त्वम् इन्द्रियाण्यादौ नियम्य भरतर्षभ आत्मानं प्रजहिह्येनं ज्ञानविज्ञाननाशनम् इन्द्रियाणि परण्याहुरिन्द्रियेभ्यः परं मनः मनसस्तु परा बुद्धिर्यो बुद्धे परतस्तु सः एवं बुद्धे परं बुद्ध्वा संस्तभ्यात्मानमात्मना जहि शत्रुं महाबाहो कामरूपं दुरासदम् ॐ तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु यो ब्रह्मविज्ञान योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे कर्मयोग नाम तृतीयोऽध्याय सम्पूर्णम्.
वो जो सामने वाले ना उन लोग देख भी रहे थे.
Maybe somebody is blocking the driveway. You can check.
Which car is that? That one? I think. You can park in the lot of space available. White car.
The grey.
Mira. Start karo. There. Mira. That ki bana tha? Yeah, a lot of the park also.
One side parking, right? Other side we should not park, right?
No, but you should not block the driveway there.
You should not block the driveway.
Block the driveway.
It didn't block fully, but
Mailbox also is
Mailbox we should not block it.
Yeah, I'm not blocking. I block you, you block it.
you block 10 feet. Both sides mailbox.
Opposite to mailbox is okay, right? That's where I parked.
Opposite is fine.
Okay.
It should not be inconvenience for the mailman to come in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
mailman will come and also neighbors also will take.
Yeah.
Right mira, Sloka mira right.
Yeah.
Adukku pakku pettikunnadu.
Okay, so let's begin. So what did we discuss in the previous class? Swadharma.
Detachment.
So you haven't forgotten that.
That stayed with me. I meditate on it, but still, like in my day-to-day life, I was trying to use it. But
Yeah.
it was with kids. It was hard. How can I detach
Park ante
myself?
kontrige akada pattern lekkude.
So it is often misunderstood that when we say you should have detachment, internal detachment, but externally you can show attachment. So when we say detachment, it doesn't mean that we should not show love.
This one.
So love is different, detachment is different. So you can show love. You can show love to your children. You can show love to your husband.
Showing love, like it's not like we can't artificially show the love. If we
It doesn't have to be
internally don't
artificial.
love, if we internally don't love them, how long we can show the love?
No, it doesn't have to be artificial. No, internally you should have love. Internally you should have love as well as detachment.
After 12 p.m.
Love and detachment.
Yeah.
How can
See, love should be internal. Only when you have love inside your heart, then you can only you can show.
Yeah.
You cannot show love if you don't have love in your heart. So you have love in your heart towards your children. So you show that love. But the detachment, internally you should have detachment, but externally when you are dealing with them, you should not express that. You should act as if you're so attached to them. You should act as if you're showing too much of love and you're completely attached to them. You should show like that.
Prabhuji,
give us an example to
It's
attach.
still hard to comprehend.
Understand. It's very hard.
Example, I mean, I don't know, you know, if
Give your
I have an example.
Huh?
Give your example, how you are detached.
Oh, my own example.
Teacher should teach what he practiced, right?
Ask me this question after 20 years.
We are still learning.
After 20 years.
Still it is in the
So
process, Prabhuji.
I'm also a sadhaka. So it's a long journey, right? You know, see, for example, when Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, fix your mind upon me. Now, can we comprehend that? Now, fixing the mind on Krishna, Krishna is not asking for 1 second or 1 minute. Always, Ananya Bhakti. Fix your mind on Krishna with Ananya Bhakti, 24/7 by 365. Now, we cannot comprehend that concept. We cannot even imagine that. But we have to get there. Similarly, when we say detachment towards family, we cannot comprehend that. It does not digest. But we have to get there. For example,
Prabhuji, I haven't.
we have to read. It's an instruction. Srimad Bhagavatam, we have to read. Bhagavad Gita, we have to read. Prabhupada books, we have to read. Prabhupada Leelamrita, we have to read. Huh? Vishnu Sahasranama, we have to learn. So all these things, there's an ocean of literature in front of us. Now, can we imagine completing, reading all this literature in this lifetime? We cannot. But we have to do that. We have to get there. So these are all the benchmarks for the highest standard in Bhakti. So in this lifetime, we are taking some baby steps towards achieving these higher standards. I know we will not be able to complete this journey in this lifetime. Some people maybe they'll be able to complete this journey, but Krishna already predicted that. In 7th chapter, Krishna said, "Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha." So out of thousands of men who try to know about Krishna, hardly anyone will achieve perfection. And no, out of thousands of men who cultivate this knowledge, hardly anyone will try to know about Krishna. And among those who try to know Krishna, only one will achieve perfection. And Krishna says out of thousands, it's not literal thousand, right? Out of billions of people, only few people will cultivate this knowledge. And among those few people who try to cultivate knowledge, very few will try to know about Krishna. And among those who try to know about Krishna, only one will achieve perfection. So it's not so easy, but we have to get there. There's no other option.
By knowing the consequences of attachment, maybe we'll get detachment.
I think one example.
By knowing the consequences of attachment.
Attachment పెంచుకోవడం వల్ల వచ్చే కాన్సిక్వెన్సెస్ ని రియలైజ్ అయితే
Yeah.
మేబీ డిటాచ్మెంట్ రావచ్చు.
Yeah.
ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ కిడ్స్ హైయర్ స్టడీస్ కి వెళ్ళాలంటారు, బట్ మేము కిడ్నీ వదిలి ఉండలేమని కొందరు పంపించారు. సో మేక్ సమ్ కాన్సిక్వెన్స్ బికాస్ ఆఫ్ అటాచ్మెంట్. మేబీ ఆ కాన్సిక్వెన్సెస్ ని తెలుసుకోవడం వల్ల కొంచెం డిటాచ్మెంట్ రావచ్చు. ఐఎమ్ జస్ట్ టెల్లింగ్.
Yeah, I mean, you learn this knowledge in 4 different ways, right? One is you hear and you learn. Second one is you see others going through some experiences and you learn from it. Third one is you go through the experiences. Life will teach you some experiences and you learn from it. The fourth one is even if you hear, even if you see others suffering, even if you go through the suffering, you still don't learn. Okay, the fourth intelligent person. So all these higher standards we will learn somehow or the other. We will learn. If you don't learn for the first time, when you hear, because Shastras are telling this, that we have to develop detachment, and that is the only way. In fact, yesterday, so just last week, I have taken up some new service of translating Prabhupada Leelamrita to Telugu. So there's no Telugu version of Prabhupada Leelamrita. It's there in English and maybe some Bengali or I don't know, some other languages are there, but it's not there in Telugu. So some senior devotee has given me this service. So I started translating this. The very first chapter, in first volume, first chapter, it says, one cannot achieve perfection without taking sannyasa. Now, sannyasa means don't think about the saffron clothes. I mean, I'm wearing saffron clothes today. Don't think about the saffron clothes and, somebody going to a secluded place. That's not the only type of sannyasa. Sannyasa means what? Renunciation, detachment from worldly things. And the children, wife, husband, these are all worldly things. even myself, I'm a worldly thing. My own self, the body, is a worldly thing.
So materialistic.
Materialistic things. Yeah. So we have to develop detachment slowly. So it's a hard thing. We have been hearing we have been listening to certain type of things since childhood. We have been, nurtured and cultivated with some philosophy until now. But now, when we hear something different, we cannot digest. It's a hard lesson, definitely. Yeah.
So when you surrender, it means like a detachment only. Prabhuji, both are same concept. When we surrender,
You will surrender only when you have detachment. Yeah.
Okay, interlinked.
So surrender is the ultimate thing. The Sharanagati, that's the ultimate thing. So when you have surrender, that means you are detaching from this bodily identity. You are detaching from the family. You are detaching from all the worldly things, and you are sacrificing everything to Krishna. Yeah. Sharanagati is the ultimate thing. Yeah. But we can practice this, in baby steps. So there are different grades of detachment, right? So you start with 0.01%, and slowly build up on that.
How we can get the content, Prabhuji? We don't know from where to start also.
How we can get?
The content, how to start.
How to start?
How to start?
Yeah,
See, the principle is very simple. We cannot artificially develop this detachment from worldly things. So, see, for example, rainwater, right? When rainwater is pouring down, it's fresh. It's very clean, fresh. But as soon as it comes in contact with dirt, it's contaminated. Now, how to purify that? How do you purify that? So let's say you have a glass full of the rainwater mixed with dirt, contaminated water. How do you purify it? How do you make it clean again? Boil it. Correct. Boiling is correct. In the material world, yeah, we have to get boiling. RO filter.
It has to go through 6 stages to filter.
The best way to purify that contaminated water is you keep pouring fresh water into that glass that has contaminated water. You keep pouring fresh water, and slowly the dirt will go out, and eventually you'll only see fresh water. So what is that clean water that we have to pour here?
The scripture reading.
Scripture reading Bhakti.
Krishna Katha, basically Krishna Katha, Krishna Kirtan. So the only way to practice detachment, or the only way to develop detachment, is by developing attachment towards Krishna. By developing attachment towards Krishna. So you can develop attachment towards Krishna by hearing more about him, by singing about him, by being in the association of devotees who have attachment to Krishna, all these things. So we will touch upon that part a little bit today in our discussion. So let's begin. Yeah. Otherwise, we will never Okay, so now, okay, let me share for the online people. So today we are going to discuss the last section of this chapter, very important section, life lessons. There are some important life lessons in this, just like how end of chapter 2 has some life lessons. What are the life lessons towards end of chapter 2?
Tolerate.
Kama Krodha, how to control Kama Krodha. Tolerance is in the beginning. 2.14. That's the very first instruction. Tolerance is 2.14.
Steps to fall down.
Ah, yes. Process of falling down. Yes, very good. Yeah. He has the notes. Process of, where is your notes? Amakirti.
Lazy dog.
In a different book. Second chapter is in different book.
So, where is your memory?
Can't tell. I'm telling.
Oh, you're telling that?
I'm
Okay.
telling from
Yeah.
contemplation and attachment.
ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसा संगस्तेषु उपजायते संगात् संजायते काम कामात् क्रोधो विजायते क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृति विभ्रमः स्मृति भ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशो बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति. So this is the 8-step process of falling down. Okay, how one can fall down from higher consciousness to lower consciousness. So today, in this last section of chapter 3, also similar topic, the biggest challenge on the path of Bhakti, 3.36 to 3.43. In the previous class, we discussed 34 and 35. 34 is Indriyasyendriyasyardhe ragadvesho vyavastitau tayornavashamagachet tauhyasya paripantinau swadharme nidanam shreya paradharmo bhayavaha. What are the next two lines? Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmo paradharma swanustita swadharme nidanam shreya paradharmo vayavaha. Okay, so doing one's own duty is better. Doing one's own duty faultily is better than doing someone else's duty perfectly. Okay, imitation is wrong. That's the lesson. Imitation is wrong. So Archana, Kranti, you can come here. There's more space. Yeah, you cannot see this screen. I'll not ask any questions.
Last
Okay. So when somebody is trying to practice Swadharma, that's the lesson, right, from the last class. When somebody is trying to practice 3.35, Shreyan Swadharmo Vigunaha. When somebody is trying to practice their own dharma based on their own swabhava, there are some obstacles on that path. So what are those obstacles? That we will see in today's discussion. 3.36. So Arjuna is asking this question. Arjuna uvacha atakena prayuktoyam papam charati purushaha anichannapi varshneya baladiva niyojitaha. Okay, Neelachal Prabhu, want to read the translation and purport?
Arjuna said, O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? Purport by Srila Prabhupada. A living entity as part and parcel of the Supreme is originally spiritual, pure and free from all material contaminations. Therefore, by nature he is not subject to the sins of the material world. But when he is in contact with the material nature, he acts in many sinful ways without hesitation, and sometimes even against his will. As such, Arjuna's question to Krishna is very sanguine as to the perverted nature of the living entities. Although the living entity sometimes does not want to act in sin, he is still forced to act. Sinful actions are not, however, impelled by the supersoul within, but are due to another cause, as the Lord explains in the next verse.
So Prabhupada's language is very sophisticated. Look at this word, sanguine. Does anyone know the meaning? Yeah.
Optimistic.
It will not work here.
Optimistic or positive, especially in apparently in bad or difficult situations.
Optimistic, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially in apparently in bad or difficult situations.
Okay. Optimistic or positive, especially in apparently bad or difficult situation. So what does Prabhupada say here? As such, Arjuna's question to Krishna is very optimistic as to the perverted nature of the living entities. Okay. So Arjuna is asking this question here, saying that, oh Krishna, I'm trying to practice my own svabhava. I'm trying to do my own prescribed duty, swadharma. But I'm doing completely against to it. I'm doing completely against to my nature. I'm doing completely against to my swadharma. So if somebody is doing something against their swadharma, completely against to their swabhava, what are they doing? Sin. So in other words, what Arjuna is asking is, why am I being forced to engage in sinful activities, even though I'm not willing to do that? I have all this knowledge about good and bad. What happens if I do good things? What happens if I do bad things? I have all this knowledge, but still, why am I being forced to indulge in sinful activities? So Arjuna says, I'm feeling as if somebody is pushing me from behind to engage in sinful activities. Why? So now we all can relate to this situation, right? When we try to overcome some of the bad habits that we have, we know that it's bad. For example, somebody who has a habit of smoking, they know that it's bad, but when they are trying to overcome that habit, they are not able to do that. So it's a great struggle that they have to go through before they can completely give up that bad habit. So now, even after reading the Shastras, even after listening to so many lectures, even after chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra for several years, the sadhaka bhaktas go through this similar situation. So Arjuna is asking why. Okay, that we'll see the next sloka. Krishna's answer.
Material world, material nature means our nature only. Material world, it is said in the first line, and material nature.
Nature is the Prakriti, containing three modes of material nature.
So, okay.
Sattva guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna. Yeah. Okay, whatever we do, it's under the influence of the three modes. Now, when we say this, people generally misunderstand that, okay, so I'm not the doer of sinful activities. The three modes of material nature, like the three ladies that we see in the picture, they are only forcing us. I'm not the doer. I'm not at fault. But who has acquired that nature? It is we who have acquired that nature. Yeah. Next sloka, 37. So from here onwards, Krishna only will speak the last few slokas. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kama Esha Krodha Esha Rajo Guna Samudbhavaha Mahashano Mahapapma Vidyenam Iha Vairinam. Okay, somebody? Kranti? You want to read?
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "It is lust only, Arjuna, which is the bond of contact with the material mode of compassion."
No, passion.
Passion, and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world.
Okay. So, passion is kama, and wrath. What is wrath? Anger, krodha. Okay. So there are these Arishad Vargas, right? The 6 enemies. Yeah? What are those 6 enemies? Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. Okay? Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. Kama is lust. Lust means strong desire to achieve something. Krodha is anger. Lobha is greed. If you try to fulfill lust, it will lead to greed. If you try to, if the lust is not fulfilled, it will lead to wrath, anger. So kama, krodha, lobha, moha. Moha is illusion. Illusion means I am this body. The reality is we are not the body, but we are the soul. But the illusion, that the moha is that we are the body. Identifying with the body is the illusion. I am the doer, I am the proprietor, I am the enjoyer, I am the controller. This is the illusion, moha. Moha, mada. Mada is pride. Matsarya, envy. Okay, so pride, envy is a self-explanatory. Okay, yeah, let's read the purport. Yeah, you can read the purport also, Kranti.
Yeah. When a living entity comes in contact with the material creation, his eternal love for Krishna is transformed into lust in association with the mode of passion. Or in other words, the sense of love of God becomes transformed into lust. As milk in contact with sour tamarind is transformed into yogurt. Then again, when lust is unsatisfied, it turns into wrath. Wrath is transformed into illusion, and illusion continues the material existence. Therefore, lust is the greatest enemy of the living entity, and it is lust only which induces the pure living entity to remain entangled in the material world. Wrath is the manifestation of the mode of ignorance. These modes exhibit themselves as wrath and other corollaries. If therefore the mode of passion, instead of being degraded into the mode of ignorance, is elevated to the mode of goodness by the prescribed method of living and acting, then one can be saved from the degradation degradation of wrath by spiritual attachment. The Supreme Personality of Godhead expanded himself into many for his ever increasing spiritual bliss, and the living entities are parts and parcels of this spiritual bliss. They also have partial independence, but by misuse of their independence, when the service attitude is transformed into the propensity for sense enjoyment, they come under the sway of lust. This material creation is created by the Lord to give facility to the conditioned souls to fulfill these lustful propensities, and when completely baffled by prolonged lustful activities, the living entities begin to inquire about their real position.
Okay, so 1 second. I think it's a very long purport. Only one paragraph. Huh? Yeah, let's finish it up. Yeah.
This inquiry is the beginning of the Vedanta Sutras, wherein it is said,
Atato Brahma Jignasa.
Brahma Jignasa. One should inquire into the Supreme, and the Supreme is defined in Srimad Bhagavatam as
Janmadhyasya yatonvaya itaratascha.
Or the origin of everything is the Supreme Brahman. Therefore, the origin of lust is also in the Supreme. If therefore lust is transformed into love for Supreme, or transformed into Krishna consciousness, or in other words, desiring everything for Krishna, then both lust and wrath can be spiritualized. Hanuman, the great servitor of Lord Rama, exhibited his wrath by burning the golden city of Ravana, but by doing so, he became the greatest devotee of the Lord. Here also in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord induces Arjuna to engage his wrath upon his enemies for the satisfaction of the Lord. Therefore, lust and wrath, when they are employed in Krishna consciousness, become our friends instead of our enemies.
Okay. So it's a long purport. Krishna is basically saying that the reason why somebody is impelled to be engaged in sinful activities is a strong desire to enjoy for one's own self. Okay, that is lust, kama. Anything. Let's say somebody has a strong desire to earn 1 billion. That's lust. Okay, it's a strong desire to achieve something. So there are two things, right? Lust and love. What is lust and what is love? So the swadharma of the soul or the living entity is to love Krishna. Okay, that's the nature. That's the nature of the soul. Just like the nature or swadharma of sugar is sweet. It cannot be separated. Similarly, the swadharma or the nature, the true nature or the eternal nature of soul is to love Krishna. But when the pure soul comes in contact with the matter in the material world, then that consciousness is contaminated and the love becomes lust. So instead of serving Krishna, instead of making Krishna happy, we serve our own senses. We try to become happy by our own self. Okay. So there's a nice shloka from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Atmendriya priti vancha tare bali kama, Krishnendriya priti ichcha dare prema nama. The desire to gratify one's own senses is kama, but the desire to please the senses of Lord Krishna is prema, love. So now we understood how lust gets converted into love. Sorry, love gets converted into lust. Now how do we do the reverse engineering?
Convert lust into love for Krishna.
Huh?
How to convert our lust into love for Krishna.
But how? That's the question. Huh?
Engage our senses. Engage.
Yeah. Okay, so that we'll see. But before that, we need to understand the subject matter of lust and sin, which is called papa. We all know about different types of karma, right? What are the different types of karma? Sanchita, prarabdha, agama. Okay. There are two more. That is another classification. Karma, akarma, vikarma. That's another classification. Yeah. So prarabdha, sanchita, agama. There is bija and kuta. Bija and kuta.
We didn't hear.
Not in the life.
Then how did you ask me the question? Oh, it's very difficult to develop detachment to family.
You are the guru.
I never thought that. I never asked you to ask that question. So, bija and kuta. So it all starts with bija. What is bija? Seed. Okay. So somehow we get the seed of sin. Bija. And then Kuta is the tendency to commit sinful actions. Kuta is the tendency to commit sinful actions. In 18th chapter, when Krishna says, the 18.65, the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam raja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshaisyami masuchaha. There Krishna says that if you surrender unto me, I will eradicate all your sins and also the sinful tendencies. If Krishna nullifies all our sins, we may still have sinful tendency. So Krishna says, I will eradicate your sinful tendency also, which is Kuta. So Bija is somehow we get the seed of sin. So how do we get the Bija in the first place? Very good. Thought. Okay. When we see an object, a material object, and when we start contemplating on it, then the bija, the seed is planted in our mind that you want to achieve that. Okay. You go to a shopping mall and then you see some object, and even after coming home also you are thinking about that, you are contemplating on that. So a bija or a seed is planted in your mind. Okay. And then let's say you buy that. Okay. You buy that. Let's say somebody looks at a liquor bottle in some shopping mall or somewhere, and then we know it's a sin. Okay, not to drink. But they ignore that instruction, and then they come home, they start contemplating on it, and then one fine day they buy that. Okay, so that bija is fructified, that seed is fructified, and then they develop a tendency to commit that sinful act. Okay, and over a period of time, as we commit sinful activities, they are stored in our bank account. Right? Chitragupta is writing all the account of good and bad account. So as we commit sinful activities, they get deposited into our Sanchita Karma. Sanchita Karma is like a bank account. Okay? And then when things are stored in that Sanchita Karma, they have to manifest, right? The things that are stored in Sanchita Karma, they have to manifest. Only then we can get purified. So what is manifested, that is Prarabdha Karma. In this life. So we take this life to go through our Prarabdha Karma. And what comes after that, or what comes in future, that is Agama Karma. Okay. So even though somebody, let's say there are two brothers, they are twins. They're born of the same mother and father, and they look identical. They're born on the same date with a fraction of time difference. But still, we can see huge difference between their personalities. Somebody can be a good pandit, somebody can become a criminal. So where is this coming from? Where is the tendency to sin is coming from? From previous lifetimes. Okay, from the Sanchita Karma. Sanchita Karma, which is manifesting as Prarabdha Karma in this lifetime. Okay, so we have to get rid of our tendency to sin, which is the Kuta, and we have to clear our bank account of Sanchita Karma, and we have to make sure that there are no new seeds of sin. And this covering of lust is very deep. So in the later shlokas of this chapter, Krishna also will explain what are the sitting places of this lust. Where does this lust reside actually? Okay. So is lust a thing or a desire? What do you say? Is lust a thing? For example, like a remote. This is a thing. Is lust a thing like this, or it just a desire? Okay, it's both. It's both. It's a thing that resides in some places, and also a desire. Okay, and it's so deep. How deep it is explained in the next shloka, which we will read and then come back to this slide here. 38. धूमेनाव्रियते वह्निर्यथा धर्षो मलेन च यतोल्बेनावृतो गर्भस्तथा तेनेदमावृतम्. Okay. So, Madhuri, you want to read?
Translation. If fire is covered by smoke, as a mirror is covered by dust, or as the embryo is covered by the womb, the living entity is similarly covered by different degrees of lust. Purport. There are 3 degrees of covering of the living entity by which his pure consciousness is obscured. This covering is but lust under different manifestations like smoke in the fire, dust on the mirror, the womb about the embryo. When lust is compared to smoke, it is understood that fire of the living spark can be a little perceived. In other words, when the living entity exhibits his Krishna consciousness lightly, he may be likened to the fire covered by smoke. Although fire is necessary where there is smoke, there is no overt manifestation of fire in the early stage. This stage is like the beginning of Krishna consciousness. The dust on the mirror refers to the cleansing process of the mirror of the mind by so many spiritual methods. The best process is to chant the holy names of the Lord. The embryo covered by the womb is an analogy illustrating a helpless position, for the child in the womb is so helpless that he cannot even move. This stage of living condition can be compared to that of trees. The trees are also living entities, but they have been put in such a condition of life by such a great exhibition of lust that they are almost void of all consciousness. The covered mirror is compared to birds and beasts, and the smoke-covered fire is compared to human being. In the form of a human being, the living entity may revive a little Krishna consciousness, and if he makes further development, the fire of the spiritual life can be kindled in the human form of life. By careful handling of the smoke in the fire can be made to blaze. Therefore, the human form of life is a chance for living entity to escape the entanglement of material existence. In the human form of life, one can conquer the enemy lust by cultivation of Krishna consciousness under able guidance.
Okay. So there are so many details, but in summary, what this shloka is describing is the different degrees of this covering called lust. There are 3 analogies given here. One is a mirror covered with dust, and then smoke, fire covered by smoke, and then third one is embryo covered by womb. So we know about the 8.4 million species of life. There are very insignificant species of life to medium grade and then higher grade human beings. Different grades of consciousness. Okay. The example or the analogy of dust, the mirror covered by dust, belongs to human beings, because dust that is on the mirror can be cleaned very easily. It can be cleaned very easily. And the analogy of fire covered by smoke is for the animals. Okay, the fire covered by smoke, I mean, with our own attempts, we cannot extinguish the smoke. The smoke has to succeed by itself. With some by the passage of time, the smoke will be subsided automatically by itself, and then you can see the fire. Okay, no matter what you do, you cannot extinguish the smoke, but the smoke will be gone very, very quickly. It will be gone very easily. You don't have to wait for like 10 years for the smoke to subside. Smoke will be gone in few minutes, and then you can see the fire. Okay, that's the analogy for animals.
But how does it apply to the animals?
So these analogies are given based on how difficult it is to penetrate into the consciousness. The consciousness of human beings can be penetrated very easily, just like cleaning the dirt on the mirror. And to penetrate into the smoke which covers the fire, it takes some time. It takes some time. And the third analogy, the embryo covered by womb, it's very hard to penetrate.
In this purport it is written that the fire, the smoke on the fire is compared to the living entity.
Yeah, human beings.
Oh, I thought, yeah, but you said it's animals.
Oh, no. Yeah, that is animals. See, the dust on the mirror is for the, the covered mirror is compared to
Birds and bees.
Oh, okay, covered mirror is compared to the birds and beasts. Why is it so? The smoke covered by fire is compared to human beings.
Because there is some reflection
Which is
of
easier.
fire.
Huh?
Because there is some reflection of fire is there in the smoke. That's why it is.
Reflection of fire in the smoke. Yeah. Okay. So even if there is smoke, you can still see some amount of fire.
Some indication is there. That
Yeah.
there is fire.
You can see some. You cannot see fully, but you can see some amount of light and fire. Yeah? And then for the bees and birds, the covered mirror. Okay. So you have to put some effort. You have to put some effort. For example, when you teach a parrot Harinam Sankirtan, the parrot can recite. Okay, and then in the next life, the parrot can take life of a human being, and then progress further. Beasts, animal, for example, cow. Cow is in the mode of goodness. So in the next life, cow will definitely become a human being, and then that's the platform for making spiritual progress. Whereas the plants, the trees, it's very hard to penetrate into their consciousness, just like the embryo covered by womb. So now how to get rid of these coverings, and how to get rid of our bija, kuta, and all the other different types of karma or different types of papa. Let's go to our slides here. So the picture will help you to remember these three things: fire covered by smoke, mirror covered by lust, covered by dust or lust, embryo covered in womb. Okay, embryo covered in womb, you have to wait like 9 months. Whereas mirror covered by dust, you can cleanse it very easily. And fire covered by smoke, even without clearing the smoke, also you can still see some indications of the fire. You can see some light, and you can feel the heat, right? You can feel the heat. Similarly, the consciousness in human beings, even though it is covered, we still exhibit some amount of goodness. We still exhibit some amount of love for Krishna. We are not fully there yet. We don't exhibit Ananya Bhakti, but we still exhibit some amount of love for Krishna. Yeah. So there is a shloka in Padma Purana, Aprarabdha phalam papam. Now this shloka explains how to get rid of the bija, kuta and other different types of karma and papa. Aprarabdha phalam papam, kutam bijam phalonmukam, karmanaiva praliyate Vishnu bhakti ratatmanam. There are different stages of dormant reactions to sinful activities to be observed in a sinful life. Sinful reactions may be just waiting to take effect, phalonmukha. Reactions may be still further dormant, kuta, the tendency to sin. Or other reactions may be in the seed-like stage, bija. In any case, all types of sinful reactions are vanquished after one after another if a person engages in the devotional service of Lord Vishnu. And that is what Krishna said in 18 chapter 18.65. Krishna says, I will eradicate all your sins and also the sinful tendency. Bija, kuta, everything, your prarabdha. See, now without devotional service, without surrender to Krishna, it is possible to eradicate Sanchita and Agama. Sanchita is the bank account full of all Papa Karma and Punya Karma also, both. So the Papa Karma that is there in the bank account, that can be nullified by doing some Prayaschitta. Okay? By doing some Prayaschitta for the sinful activities that somebody has done in the previous lifetimes. You can do the Prayaschitta in this lifetime. You can do some puja, some ceremony. Okay? There are some remedies. Okay? By following those remedies, you can eradicate the ill effects of Sanchita Karma. That means you can make sure that will not manifest. Whatever is there in the Sanchita Karma, that will never manifest. But the Prarabdha Karma, once it has manifested, we have taken this birth means some Prarabdha Karma is manifesting. No amount of Prayaschitta, no type of Prayaschitta can eradicate that. But there is only one thing that eradicate the Prarabdha Karma is devotional service.
So Prabhuji, when in life, when the difficult situation comes and when one go to the Panditji or any, they give them some, do this ritual, do this and you will feel better or things will get better. But those are prarabdha actually, no? Those are the prarabdha because they are manifesting in this lifetime.
Yeah.
And but they are giving us the ritual or the, some they are telling us do this prayer or puja, or remedies they are giving.
Yeah.
But actually they are prarabdha which are manifesting in this lifetime.
So by doing that prayaschitta for the prarabdha karma, which has already started manifesting, the intensity will be reduced.
So we can reduce the intensity of the prarabdha and we can eradicate sanchit karma.
You can eradicate sanchit karma. You can make sanchita karma not manifest in this life or next life also.
But sanchit karma will not manifest in this lifetime, right?
That's
why it is sanchit.
No, what is there in the sanchit karma, it may manifest in the form of agama karma either in this life or next life. In this lifetime, what has already manifested? What has manifested? Our birth. Our birth has manifested. Our education is finished. We started working in some company. We are married to such and such person. We have some children. This is all prarabdha karma, due to prarabdha karma, which has already manifested.
Oh, okay. Which have been already have.
It has begun.
Which has happened is prarabdha.
Yeah.
Which is going to happen in this lifetime will be
agama karma. See, part of the sanchita karma will be manifest through agama karma either in this lifetime or next life.
What does Sanchita Karma mean?
Sanchita is like a bank account. Yeah, that has all the good and bad reactions from all the previous lifetimes.
I thought it's a prarabdha karma, like which is written when we take birth. As soon as we take birth, it's a prarabdha karma.
Yeah, because of the prarabdha karma, we take this birth.
Everything happened because of the prarabdha karma. Whatever is happening in our life is happening because of our prarabdha karma. Sanchit karma is for next life or next to next life. That's what I...
No, part of the Sanchita karma can manifest in this life also. See, Sanchita karma, let's say there are 1,000 points in Sanchita karma. Now you have taken birth, and so many incidents have happened so far already. So let's say there are 5 points from the Sanchit karma have manifested. Now the remaining out of the remaining 95 points, few points will manifest in this lifetime or in the previous life, in the future lifetimes. You are saying something, Neelachal Prabhu?
Well, yeah, I have a very different question. Maybe I just have a different question. So prarabdha karma means what has been activated and what we are also going through, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, only the 5 points will be there, right? Not more than that.
There can be more.
More?
Yeah, right? In future. There can be more.
So what has happened, what is happening?
He got scared. Sudhakar got scared.
So what has happened and what is happening is prarabdha karma.
Yeah.
What can happen in this life is part of this agama karma, which is all coming from the bank balance of Sanchita karma.
Yeah. So think of the Sanchita karma like a quiver. The Kshatriyas have the warrior as a quiver, right? Quiver with all the arrows in it. Okay? Now, the arrow that has been released, that's prarabdha karma. So after one arrow is released, what will the Kshatriya do? The Kshatriya will pick up another arrow. Now it's random, right? The Kshatriya will randomly pick up another arrow. That's agama karma. What comes next is agama karma.
And Prabhu, Bija and Kuta will be feeding back to Sanchit?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Bija and Kuta will
not
feed into Sanchita.
Immediately as a prarabdha, right? It will first feed back to...
It's based on the choices that you make now.
Okay.
Yeah. So whatever actions that you do, whatever karma you do in this lifetime, that will shape up your next life.
Prarabdha and agam is kind of like output and input to Sanchit, right? And Sanchit is the balance, like you maintain.
See, Kuta is the tendency to sin, right? So if you use that tendency to sin and perform some sinful activities in this lifetime, that will become as prarabdha in the next life. Yeah.
So the
one second. Yeah.
But my question is, when Srila was saying, Shavamana Mataji was saying,
Now what did you say?
She was saying,
No.
Shamakunda
Shamakunda. Yeah. All of us, we have to say Shamakunda Mataji. You have to say Shamakunda. But you have to say Prabhuji.
I will but I mind saying him to me Mataji.
I think I want to challenge this notion that, let's say when you're facing difficult times, you should go and reach out to some
Panditji
for remedies.
Yeah. No, as devotees we should not. As devotees, we should go to Krishna only. Krishna will reduce the intensity.
Again, I think that's what I just want to. At least my understanding is that today, when we experience these bad circumstances, they're not bad.
Yeah.
They are just lessons in disguise for us.
Yeah.
But we should not try to seek any shortcuts.
Yeah.
I think that's a wrong.
Yeah, that's correct.
So I just want to.
Yeah. So ideal scenario is we should not even ask Krishna to reduce the intensity or to eradicate those. But as a sadhaka, if you're not able to focus on your chanting, if you're not able to focus on reading Bhagavad Gita, to make your situation little better, you can ask others. You can send a WhatsApp message to others. Please pray for me. Okay? So then Krishna will reciprocate and he will reduce the intensity.
Yes, we can ask, give the strength to tolerate that.
Yeah. 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 The strength to tolerate that we can pray. Okay? But to eradicate the problem itself, we have to ask others. Okay? When others pray for us, Krishna will listen. Yeah. Okay?
Yeah, but why is it the problem to? It's a problem because we are unable to understand it.
Mm-hmm.
If we understand it, then it's not no longer a problem.
If we understand, no, whether you understand or don't understand, problem is a problem. A mosquito bite, so somebody got malaria because of mosquito bite. Whether you understand the problem, which particular mosquito bit me, whether you understand that or not, the problem is still a problem. Whether you understand what is the reason for the suffering that I am going through now, whether you understand that, the root cause, or don't understand, you still have to go through it. Yeah.
But if we understand, then we will take it smoothly. Right? Yeah.
I think Prabhupada want to say, treat everything as Krishna's plan, so don't worry.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, something similar, but see, once we go through all the knowledge, once we get the knowledge, then the same problem that we see could be very different. Yes, it doesn't appear to be a problem.
So if you understand this karma theory, basically, right? If you understand this karma theory, good actions will make you happy, bad actions will have negative consequences. And why this karma, how this karma cycle even began in the very first place. If you understand this theory, yes, definitely. Yeah.
So that's
you will be relaxed.
All the knowledge, right?
Yeah, definitely you will be relaxed. Otherwise, you will be scratching your head. Oh, why am I suffering? I haven't, committed any sins in this lifetime. Yeah. Okay.
Prabhu was saying, so God given difficulty, right?
Yeah.
Difficult situation. We should not even ask, I want to be happy in this situation.
Yeah.
This is against to the God.
Yeah, that's the ideal scenario. But as a sadhaka bhakta, we are still not, we still have not achieved enough progress. We can go to Krishna, with a list of our problems, we can go to Krishna. Instead of going to a pujari, instead of worshipping some demigod to get rid of our problems, it is better to approach Krishna. So Krishna will purify you and solve the problem. Krishna will purify you and give you what you are asking for. Yeah. Whereas if you ask a demigod, or if you go to some pujari and do some prayaschitta, without the purification itself, you will be granted with something. Without purification itself, you will be resolved of some problem. Then what is the danger there? You will again commit those mistakes. Whereas here Krishna will eradicate not only the papa, but the tendency to do papa. Both.
Avocado is just a band-aid fix.
Yeah.
It's a band-aid fix.
Worshipping demigod for the problems, going to a pujari and doing some prayaschitta, it's like a band-aid. Yeah.
And this Karam Kanda is coming from Vedas, right?
Yeah.
That's what I was telling you.
That was your question?
No, he asked part of my question that, by going to, some sadhu for reducing intensity or postponing, some of the difficulties in life.
Yeah.
We are just postponing it, right? The effects of it or reducing, but they're not going away.
Yeah.
So she was telling that, but to practice also all of that is also coming from Veda. So that's like a bit contradictory. That where on one side we say that we should not be postponing karmas, we should be, let our prarabdha do its job.
Yeah.
And on one side the Vedas is telling that you do,
So there are different types of Puranas and different types of Vedas for different types of people. Okay, there are Tamasic Purana, Rajasic Purana, Sattvic Purana, and Srimad Bhagavatam is Amala Purana. It's beyond even the mode of goodness. It's beyond sattvika level. So for people who cannot take this process of bhakti straight away, let's say one of your colleagues or one of your neighbors in the city, if you ask them to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, they will not do that. But if you ask them, if you give them a gradual process, okay, so you do this first, you'll be happy. Your goal is to become happy in life, right? So you're not willing to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, but at least you do this. You follow a certain process, you follow Karmakanda process, you'll still be happy. So it's a gradual progress for them. Yeah. Is that clear?
Yeah. So instead of directly going to bhakti, they're going step by step.
Yeah, for those people who cannot take this process of bhakti directly, for them it's a gradual process. Yeah. Okay. So.
I have.
Huh?
So the
Yeah.
prarabdha karma that we are we are suffering or we are enjoying at this moment.
Yeah.
So that is something that we could not relinquish or we could not solve in the previous this thing, even through like consciousness and everything. It was stored in like sanchit karma and then followed in
it's
this
manifesting
life.
in this life.
In this life.
Yeah. So a child, we discussed this last week, right? Last class. Up to 12 years, there's no karma for them, right? The child actually starts realizing their prarabdha karma, or the child starts understanding why they have taken birth in this lifetime, or the child starts manifesting their desires in this lifetime from 12th year onwards. That means the prarabdha karma actually starts manifesting from 12th year.
So sometimes, like they're born like that, they're born with them. They start realizing it very early on in stage.
That's also prarabdha karma. Prarabdha karma is not necessarily bad thing. Both good and bad, both. So a child who already made some progress in the previous lifetime in bhakti, in this lifetime, they are given a birth in a good Vaishnava family, so that right from the beginning of their life, they can perform bhakti. So the previous shloka from Padma Purana, what did it say? The only way to get rid of bija, kuta and all types of karma and papa is service to Vishnu, Lord Vishnu. Okay. Now there are three things: senses, mind, and intelligence. If you look at the anatomy of human life, there is gross body, subtle body, and then there is soul. Gross body is made up of earth, water, fire, air, ether, the Pancha Mahabhuta, and then subtle body is made up of mind, intelligence, and false ego, and then there is soul. Okay, this is the anatomy of human life. The senses are in the gross body, and the mind is in the subtle body. Mind and intelligence are in the subtle body. Now, when we are trying to control this lust, when we are trying to get rid of this covering of lust, we have to deal with these three things: senses, mind, and intelligence. Why? Why do we have to deal with these three things? Because these are the sitting places of the lust. This is where the lust resides. This is where the lust resides. Let's recite the shloka and then come back here. There are 43, right? Shlokas in this. 39, 40, 41, 42, 43. Yeah? So 5 more shlokas we have to cover. We can do it. Avritam jnanametena jnanino nityavairina. Kamarupena kaunteya dushpurena nalena cha. Okay. Someone else. You read, right? Yeah, Shrikant, you want to read?
Does the translation, does the wise living entity's pure consciousness becomes covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire? Purport. It is said in the Manusmriti that lust cannot be satisfied by any amount of sense enjoyment, just as fire is never extinguished by a constant supply of fuel. In the material world, the center of all activities is sex, and thus this material world is called Maitunya
Agara.
Agara, are the shackles of sex life. In the ordinary prison house, criminals are kept within bars. Similarly, the criminals who are disobedient to the laws of the Lord are shackled by sex life. Advancement of material civilization on the basis of sense gratification makes increasing the duration of the material existence of a living entity. Therefore, this lust is the symbol of ignorance by which the living entity is kept within the material world. While one enjoys sense gratification, it may be that there is some feeling of happiness, but actually that so-called feeling of happiness is the ultimate enemy of the sense enjoyer.
Okay. So here Krishna is saying that it is very difficult to overcome this lust, which is like a burning fire, like a forest fire. No amount of no amount of sense enjoyment can extinguish this fire called lust. See, there are two theories, right? One way of extinguishing lust is by withdrawing from it, by controlling and by withdrawing from it. Another concocted solution is you indulge in it as much as you want, and then eventually you will get frustrated and you will get rid of it. So one is withdrawing, controlling. The other one is overindulging, so that you will get frustrated and you will get detached. That was the theory of that rascal Osho Rajneesh. Okay. So,
drink more alcohol, then you get frustrated.
Yeah. So somebody wants to get rid of alcohol. His solution is you drink as much alcohol as you can, and eventually you will get rid of it. You'll get frustrated, and you will get rid of it. Okay. So I mean, he used this concept for something else, not alcohol. So these are two different versions. But here, Krishna is clearly saying, Prabhupada is writing, no amount of sense enjoyment can extinguish this fire called lust. Instead, what happens? The more you try to indulge, it burns like fire. When there is fire, what do you do to extinguish that? You put water or ghee? Water. If you put ghee, then it will increase. It will increase the fire. Okay. It might even burn the house also. So the best way is to control, to regulate, to detach. Now to control, to regulate, to detach, to control this enemy called lust, we need to know where that enemy is residing. For a soldier in the army, if he wants to attack his enemies, first he needs to know where the enemies are hiding, right? So in the next 3 slokas, Krishna explains what are the sitting places of this lust.
What is Manusmriti?
Manusmriti is a scripture that contains moral codes for human life. What are the do's and don'ts? What to do in this? Since we have taken human birth, we have to act in such a way. So Manusmriti teaches.
Manu is the first human, and
yeah.
That's why we are all called Manush.
Yes. Okay. So Shloka number 40. Indriyani manobuddhir asyadhishthanamuchyate.
Indriyani manobuddhir asyadhishthanamuchyate.
Etairvimohayatyesha jnanamavritya dehinam.
Etairvimohayatyesha jnanamavritya dehinam.
Okay, now somebody else. You want to read? Yeah.
The senses, the mind, and the intelligence are the sitting places of this lust. Through them, lust covers the real knowledge of the living entity and bewilders him. Purport: the enemy has captured different strategic positions in the body of the conditioned soul, and therefore Lord Krishna is giving hints of those places, so that one who wants to conquer the enemy may know where he can be found. Mind of the center of the activities of the senses, and thus when we hear about sense objects, the mind generally becomes a reservoir of all ideas of sense gratification, and as a result the mind and the senses become the repositories of lust. Next, the intelligence department becomes the capital of such lustful propensities. Intelligence is the immediate next door neighbor of the spiritual soul. Lastly, intelligence influences the spirit soul to acquire the false ego and identify himself with matter, and thus with the mind and senses. The spirit becomes addicted to enjoying the material senses and mistakes this as true happiness. The false identification of the spirit soul is very nicely explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah, you can skip the shloka, read the English translation.
A human being who identifies this body made of three elements with his self, who considers the byproducts of the body to be his kinsmen, who considers the land of the birth worshipable, and who goes to the places of pilgrimage simply to take a bath rather than meet men of transcendental knowledge, there is to be considered like an ass or a cow.
Yeah. Okay. So what is Krishna saying here? Where is the lust residing? The senses, mind and intelligence are the sitting places of this lust. Indriyani manobuddhir asyadhisthana muchyate. Adhishtanam means, what is adhishtanam? Sitting place. Okay. Now, when Krishna is using this word adhishtanam, it means lust comes there and puts a tent and sits there. Just like in India it happens, right? You have some land, 100 acres of land, and somebody encroaches it. So what do? They build a small hut or something there. And it's very, very difficult to get rid of that person. Similarly, adhisthana muchyate means this lust puts a tent in all these three places: mind, senses, and intelligence. And it's a very difficult process to get rid of that.
How does lust sit on the senses? I think it makes sense on the mind and the intelligence.
Yeah.
Like senses are usually a way to acquire or perceive. Right?
Yeah.
Like what do we mean when we say that the lust sits in the senses?
When the lust sits in the senses, for example, when you see an object, so who is the first receiver between these three senses, mind and intelligence? Who is the first receiver? Senses. The eye is seeing that. Okay. So the chakshu is the first receiver, and then it gets deposited into the mind, and then the mind pollutes intelligence. So like this, the lust resides in these three places. Yeah. The same object, the more you see, the more it gets deposited into, the more the chakshu receives it, and then the mind starts contemplating on that, and then the mind pollutes intelligence. Okay. So since these are the three places, we have to find solution to purify these three things. Okay. So the techniques or the solutions for the three things, senses, mind, and intelligence, is senses we have to regulate, which was discussed in chapter 2, right? Just like a tortoise. Kurmongani va sarvashaha. Indriyan indiyarte priha. Some shloka. There Krishna gives an example of kurma, the tortoise. Just like how a tortoise withdraws the limbs when the tortoise sees some external danger, it withdraws all the limbs and hides them under the hard shell. Okay. Similarly, when we see danger from external sources, we have to withdraw our senses. So for the senses, the technique is regulation. Regulation. Okay. What you see, what you eat, what you say, uh, what you smell, you have to regulate. And for the mind, the technique is chanting, chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And for the intelligence, reading scriptures, spiritual knowledge. Okay. We discussed these during the topic of mind control. You know, for those of you who missed it, we can have that session one more time. So now when it comes to controlling the senses, controlling the mind, or sharpening our intelligence, we need 10 different things. What are these 10 different things? These 10 different things are the conducive elements to control the senses, to sharpen the intelligence, and also to control the mind. What are the 10 different things? Satvik Janma, Satvik Desha, Satvik Ahara, Satvik Samskara, Satvik Sangha, Satvik Agama, Satvik Kala, Karma, Satvik Mantra, Satvik Dhyana. Now we talked about mantra, Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. That is actually even more than Satvik. It is in the mode of Vishuddha Sattva, in pure goodness. Okay. And there are some mantras which are Rajasic, some mantras which are Tamasic, like Tantric mantras. People who worship ghosts, they are Tantric mantras. Okay. And there are some mantras that can do some prayaschitta, or that can make you fulfill some desires. They are Rajasic mantras. Okay. So like this, there are 10 different sattvic things that we need, which will create an environment for us to control our senses, to control our mind, and to sharpen our intelligence. Sattvic Janma, that's the idealistic thing. If somebody is able to take Sattvic Janma, that is the idealistic thing. And how that can happen? It can only happen based on the previous life. That's why, at least if not in this lifetime, if we did not get Sattvic Janma in this lifetime, we have to do those things in this lifetime so that we can get Sattvic Janma in the next life. Sattvic Janma is the example that you gave, right? A child taking birth in a Vaishnava family. Okay. If not Sattvic Janma, let's say somebody did not get Sattvic Janma, somebody did not get birth in a good Vaishnava family. Sattvic Desha, you can reside in a place where the environment is Sattvic. Okay. Now see, this Sangha is Sattvic. This place is Sattvic. Okay. This so-called house of Praveen and Annapurna Mataji's home. If you consider this itself as a Desha, this is Sattvic Desha now, because there are all conducive things for our bhakti. But if you look at US itself, It's not sattvic. It's rajasic or tamasic. Okay? So if there is an opportunity, run to Bharat Bhumi. Run to Bharat Bhumi. If there is an opportunity. That is sattvic desha. Now there also, not every place is a sattvic thing, right? You have to choose. But in general, the Bharat Bhumi is a Punya Bhumi, it's Karma Bhumi. Okay? So it has its benefit.
But sometimes, Prabhuji, doing bhakti here is easier as compared to doing it in India. So,
Yeah.
so it is beneficial for us to stay here and do bhakti because there is so much social commitment if we go back to India.
Yeah.
That we will get entangled in that and I don't know where the bhakti will come.
Yeah, that's what Harilas Maharaj says all the time, right? You can become a, it's easy to practice Krishna consciousness here in America rather than in India. So after practicing Krishna consciousness for some time, for a few years, okay, then you can go to India and you can still live there and not be contaminated by the social pressures. In the beginning stage, if you go to India, no, you cannot practice bhakti there. But after achieving some progress, after you read some shastra and then are able to discriminate between good and bad, what can bring me closer to Krishna consciousness and what can take me away from Krishna. Once you have that discriminating power, you can go to India and you can stay there unaffected by the social pressures. Yeah. Satvika Ahara. Krishna tells this in 6th chapter, 17th chapter, 18th chapter. Satvik Samskara. There are 16 Samskaras that we discussed in 1st chapter, starting from Garbhadana Samskara all the way up to Antyeshti, Antim Samskara. Okay. Satvik Sangha, association of devotees. Satvik Agama, Shastras. Read Satvik Shastras, Satvik Puranas. Satvik Kala. Satvik Kala is Brahma Muhurta. Okay. Satvik Karma. Satvik Karma.
Occupation.
Akarma.
Sattvic occupation.
Satvik occupation, like a teacher job or taking one of the occupations of the 4 Varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Basically aligning your occupational duties as per the Shastra. That is Satvik Karma.
Prabhu, this is for this life or?
No, I need a glass of water.
No, because it's already activated. Can't do anything now.
Except Janma, everything is for this life. Janma is for next life. He has a valid question. 9 are for this life, 1 is for next life.
But if you do properly 9, there is no next life.
Yeah, you don't have to take next life. If you do all the 9 things properly,
but
no.
Janma is it's all about how you, like, for example, live your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even, like, for example, even when you're getting association with the devotees, when you're starting doing the right things, you can make your Janma sattvic as well, right? Like,
no, Janma means birth.
Already happened, right?
Janma means birth.
I mean, you can take benefit of the rest of the 9 things to compensate for bad Janma.
But no, he has a valid point. See, the biological birth is one birth. But when you take initiation, that is second birth. In fact, that is actual birth, right? Satvik Janma, Sudhakar, everything is in this life.
Prahlad Maharaj, right? He got the birth in family.
Demoniac family.
But birth was not. Will you say his birth was not sattvic?
I think his mother chanted.
Yeah, we can say his Janma is not sattvic. Janma is not sattvic, but his samskaras are sattvic. Samskaras from previous lifetime or Satvik?
Even
He
Prabhu,
did all the other
Guru
90%.
he born in a like family.
Yeah.
Where meat eating family, but he became
He became
did not
Satvik.
become Satvik.
He became Satvik.
He became Satvik.
Yeah. So that is because of Satvik samskaras. It can also be because of Satvik Sangha. Maharaj came in contact with Prabhupada. Satvik Sangha. Yeah, Satvik Janma can refer to the initiation, second Jarma, Dvija. Yeah, Brahmana.
One more question. So,
Actually,
no, you can do it this work. All can you can achieve in this work.
Yeah.
So
Next
one
Satvik mantra.
One more question. So Krishna is saying lust is the main cause for the spiritual progress, right? Lust
Is obstacle.
Obstacle, right?
It's obstacle, not the main cause. Obstacle.
So suppose if I want to eat gulab jam, right? I tell my mind, oh, don't eat it. So
Yeah.
it is not good for your health or something, right? So if I keep on telling that desire not to manifest it so strong, right? Then my goal is achieved, right? Like I'm still making my progress to spiritual.
If you tell your mind that don't eat gulab jamun,
Yeah, gulab jamun.
but the mind will only do that thing that you tell the mind not to do.
No, I'm very strong in that point.
Mind is also saying that. Mind is stronger than you.
I mean, maybe not now, but after some time you.
After you regulate or something or control.
And no, I'm saying, I mean, for some time you'll be very resilient and you'll not eat gulab jamun. But there'll be a bad day, you want to rebel and stuff, and then you'll eat.
Mind takes the path of least resistance. The more you resist, the more obstinate it will become.
And that is not the end, Prabhu. Like just not eating gulab jamun is not the end, right?
But you're thinking
of some jalebi, right? So
all the sweets.
Yeah, basically some sweet. Some sweet.
Means ultimately we need to please Krishna consciousness. That means
one desire you stop, other desire you manifest.
Yeah.
So I think the question is, what is the point of this question? What are you understanding?
Because I can follow simple, right? Like so I just tell my mind. So
that is simple or that is complex?
He's talking about mind control, but he's thinking it's simple.
It's more complex. What do you think is complex and what is simple?
I don't need to remember all these things, right?
No, you don't need to remember these things.
See, one thing is very clear. If controlling mind was difficult for Arjuna, it is undoubtedly difficult for us. Now, Arjuna, we know what kind of warrior he is. He himself said, I can control the wind, I can control the raging wind, but I cannot control mind. If Arjuna said that, we are just ordinary human beings. It is undoubtedly more difficult for us. But there is a way how to do that. We'll see that. Okay? Satvik mantra. We discussed that. Satvik dhyana.
One question for Satvik mantra. The Hare Krishna Mahamantra is above Satvik.
Above Satvik.
But in childhood, when we used to get scared, our parents used to tell me, recite Hanuman Chalisa or Ramayan Chapai. So those are Satvik mantra or those are even Ramayan Chapai?
See, some slokas in Hanuman Chalisa can be, Satvik mantra, which will make you, courageous, which will remove the fear in you. That can be Satvik mantra. Some slokas in Hanuman Chalisa that glorify the Bhakti, those are beyond Satvik.
Even the Ramayan Chopais are above Satvik. Because
yeah, Itihasa Purana, Ramayana Itihasa Purana is above Satvik.
Anything that helps you remember Lord becomes Satvik. Right?
No.
Above Satvik.
Beyond Satvik.
Yeah, beyond Satvik. Srimad Bhagavatam talks completely about Krishna. So it's the Amala Purana. Okay? Satvik Dhyana. Dhyana is meditation. Always thinking about Krishna. Okay? Now, just like how Sudhakar said, right? It is easy to control the mind. So generally, after knowing all this, after reading all the Shastra, after knowing more about lust, after knowing how difficult it is to control lust, still we think that we have conquered lust. Still we think we can control lust. There is a classic example, a story of Jaimini Rishi. Jaimini Rishi, one day he went to his guru, Vasudeva, and told him that, oh Guru Maharaj, I think I have controlled lust. Okay? I think I have controlled lust. Vasudeva says, oh really? Then Vasudeva, he wanted to give a test. He does not tell to Jaimini Rishi. He says, okay, that's fine. I'm glad to hear that. Then after a few days, one fine day, there's a heavy rain. Okay? You heard this story? Okay. There's a heavy rain. And then Jaimini Rishi was inside his hut. And then there's a knock on the door. There's a beautiful lady, fully drenched in rain, standing outside, knocking on the door. And then Jaimini Rishi tells, no, I'm a sannyasi, I'm in this ashrama, there's no place for women here. But that lady says, there is no place anywhere else for me to take shelter in this heavy rain. So you have to give me shelter, you have to protect me. Now after so much of pleading, Jaimini Rishi lets her in, but puts a condition saying that you can never come to my side, you can never make you visible to me. You have to sit in a corner and don't come in front of me and don't make me see you. The lady agrees. And then after some time, Jaimini Rishi starts thinking, okay, it's my own hut and the lady is inside. Who is stopping me? And then Jaimini Rishi himself goes near that lady. And then what happens after that? We all know. What happens? What happens is he goes near that lady, and then the lady resists, saying that, oh, you are the one who told I should not come near you, and now you yourself came near me. And then Jaimini Rishi says, no, this is my own hut. Whatever I am saying, you should do it. Acha. Then finally that lady turns the head, and then it's actually Vasudeva. It's actually Vasudeva. He wanted to test Jaimini Rishi. You said you control your lust. Now what happened? See. Okay. So it is very difficult. With our own attempt, if you want to control mind or senses, it's very difficult. But the same lust, same anger, if we use in the service of the Lord, just like how Hanuman did, when Hanuman's tail was burnt, he got angry, and then how he used that anger, he burned the whole Lanka. He used that anger in the service of the Lord. He burned the whole Lanka, and he said, now look at this. If the servant of the Lord can do this much, now just imagine, what can the Lord do? So he wanted to show that to Ravana. So he used his anger. He got angry on Ravana, but he used that anger in the service of the Lord. And Arjuna also, he used not anger, right? Arjuna was angry on his on the Kauravas.
The Lord asked him to fight with anger, like
he was in illusion, Prabhu.
See, he was in illusion. Later it is said that because as a Kshatriya he needed anger to fight, so he actually cultivated that to fight properly.
So
in the service of the Lord, obviously.
So when Krishna instilled anger.
Yeah.
He did not have anger towards Kauravas, but Krishna instilled anger in Arjuna, which is needed. Mode of passion is needed. He was compassionate, right? But mode of passion is needed to fight. Okay? So, this slide says the same thing. Conquer lust by regulating senses, engaging the mind in chanting Hare Krishna and studying Bhagavad Gita. Okay, now let's go back to the shlokas. We will quickly read them and then finish our discussion in next few minutes. Tasmat tvam indriyanyadho niyamya bharatarshava. Atmanam prajahihyenam jnana vijnana nashanam. Therefore, O Arjuna, best of the Bharatas, in the very beginning, now this is the key to all the process of controlling mind, senses, and everything. Okay. So, what is the key, or what is the main principle in controlling these things? Curb this great symbol of sin, lust, by regulating the senses, and slay the destroyer of knowledge and self-realization. So, what does it mean to curb? Control. Yeah.
Control the initial thought.
Or mold it into something else. Don't enter it at once. So refrain.
Control it in the very beginning. Okay. Curb means control it in the very beginning. Don't try to control things when it is too late. As they say, right? What is that English saying about bird and flower? It is easy to nip a bird. No. Mokkai vanganadi manai vangutunda. What is the English thing?
Nip it in the bud, I think.
If it is easy to nip a bird than a flower, something like that. You understand the message, right? You understand the message. If you want to, let's say there is a bad flower, okay, spreading some bad fragrance, okay, or bad smell. It's easy to nip the bud in the very beginning rather than waiting until the bud blossoms into a flower and then trying to kill it, because by the time the bad smell has already spread. Similarly, if there is a sinful tendency, if there is a bija, okay, when you feel that you are trying to contemplate on something, and that contemplation is going to become a bija, a seed for sinful activities, and then you develop sinful tendencies, kuta. When you have this sense, it is easy to kill that in the very beginning. Now we all can feel this. We all can have sense of what's going on. We will have this awareness. If you introspect carefully, we will have this awareness. But what do we do? We ignore that and still engage in the sinful activities. So Krishna is telling here that it is easy to curb this in the very beginning. It is easy to control in the very beginning. Generally, what people do is they don't curb this lust in the beginning, but when they go through some experiences, and if that experience is suffering, if it is misery, then they will listen. They will listen and they will try to control it. But by that time, it's already late. It's very difficult. At that time, it's very difficult. So instead, if we hear from the Shastra, and then as soon as we have some sense of this bija, kuta, all these things, we should immediately stop it in the beginning. Okay? Reading of the purport that you do at your home. Homework. Okay? Next shloka. Indriyani paranyahur indriyebhya param manaha. Manasastu para buddhir yo buddhe paratastu saha. Okay, now this is another nice technique that Krishna gives. So here Krishna is giving a hierarchy of these three things: mind, intelligence, and senses. He's giving a hierarchy. Now we know that we need to control senses, we need to control the mind, and we need to sharpen our intelligence. But in which order? Should I first sharpen my intelligence and then senses and then mind? Or first mind and then senses and then intelligence? Or which order? Why senses?
They are the window.
First receiver.
First receiver. Okay. First responder. First responder. Huh? Intelligence. Why intelligence?
If you have that intelligence, you will not feel. You will not addicted to that sense. We can control the sense with that knowledge.
Yeah. Okay. And somebody say mind. Sudhakar, say mind.
No, I think senses are intelligence.
Senses
Or intelligence.
or intelligence. Okay, either sense or intelligence, not mind. Now you agreed. After hearing Jaimini Rishi's example, he understood. He understood.
There is no gulab jamun today.
Okay, so Krishna is saying Indriyani Paranyahur Indriyebhya Param Manaha. Let's look at the translation. The working senses are superior to dull matter. The gross matter is at the lowest level. Okay, the Pancha Mahabhuta, earth, water, fire, air, ether, that is at the lowest level. Above matter are the senses. Okay, the working senses. And mind is higher than the senses. One level above mind is one level above senses is mind, and above mind is intelligence, and above intelligence is actually false ego, and then above false ego is the soul. Okay, mana, buddhi, ahankar, and then the soul.
Ahankar is higher than the intelligence also.
Yeah.
So, sorry, it will interrupt.
Yeah.
So, how do we? Even if we, if it's higher than intelligence also, even if we have all the knowledge,
yeah,
then the false ego might come and interrupt, right?
So the ahankar, the reason why our senses, mind and intelligence are polluted is because of ahankara. So what is ahankara first of all?
The sense of
I-ness, I, me, minus. Okay?
I am the body.
I am the body. Okay? So the soul, originally it is pure. But when the soul comes in contact with matter, the consciousness is contaminated. And that is ahankara. Yeah. We cannot directly deal with ahankara. That's why Krishna did not mention here. We cannot deal with ahankara. Okay? We cannot go to that ahankara and say that, no, you are not ahankara, you are the jiva, you are the soul, you are the atma. We cannot say that. But the byproducts of ahankara, the mind, senses and intelligence, those things which are polluted by ahankara, those things we can control. Yeah. So first we have to control the senses, because the senses are at the lowest, and then the mind, and then the intelligence. So we have to take a bottom-up approach, not the top-down approach, but the bottom-up approach. Okay? But still, while we are taking bottom-up approach, it is also important to cultivate knowledge, intelligence, cultivate good intelligence, as Sarita mentioned. If intelligence is proper, the intelligence can control the mind, which in turn will control the senses. If the intelligence itself is not correct, the mind will drift. The mind will drift here and there and engage the senses in sinful activities. So it is equally important, as much as the process of bottom-up approach is important, so as cultivating intelligence or sharpening our intelligence is also equally important. What is there in the middle, the mind, we cannot control directly. Only by controlling senses and by sharpening our intelligence, we can control mind. Okay. Let me see if I have any slides here. Yeah, the last sloka, 3.43. Evam buddhe param bhudva samstabhyatmanam
Evam buddhe param buddva samstabhyatmanam
Jahi Shatrum Mahabaho Kamarupam Durasadam.
Jahi Shatrum Mahabaho Kamarupam Durasadam.
Okay. And Maharaj, want to read?
Translation. Thus knowing oneself to be transcendental to the material senses, mind and intelligence, O mighty Arjuna, one should study the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence, Krishna consciousness, and thus by spiritual strength conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust.
Yeah.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada. This third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is conclusively directive to Krishna consciousness by knowing oneself as the eternal servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead without considering impersonal voidness the ultimate end. In the material existence of life, one is certainly influenced by propensities for lust and desire for dominating the resources of material nature. Desire for overloading and for sense gratification is the greatest enemy of the conditioned soul. But by the strength of Krishna consciousness, one can control the material senses, the mind and intelligence. One may not give up the work and prescribed duties all of a sudden, but by gradually developing Krishna consciousness, one can be situated in a transcendental position without being influenced by the material senses and the mind, by steady intelligence directed towards one's pure identity. This is the sum total of this chapter. In the immature stage of material existence, philosophical speculation and artificial attempts to control the senses by the so-called practice of yogic postures can never help a man towards spiritual life. He must be trained in Krishna consciousness by higher intelligence.
Thus end the Bhakti Vedanta purports, the third chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of Karma Yoga or discharge of one's prescribed duty in Krishna consciousness. Congratulations! So, what is the summary of this? So, Krishna is saying here that one should study the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence, and thus by spiritual strength conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust. This is the only technique, no other means of satiating this lust. So what is this technique? One should study the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence. So what does it mean practically for us? Deliberate spiritual intelligence.
Reading Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, Lord's pastimes.
Yeah. Katha and reading Vedas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So more Krishna Katha, more Krishna Kirtan. Huh?
More association.
Yeah, more association. All those, more prasadam. So, if there is one practical lesson, as Krishna mentioned, one should study the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence. If there is one practical tip or lesson that we can apply in our day-to-day life is, remember Smarana, that we always talk about. Smarana. And that Smarana or the remembrance of the Lord, we have to do it deliberately. As some of the yoga classes or the meditation classes, what do they say? What is the technique for controlling the mind? What do they say there? But what is the technique they use there? Huh?
Controlling the breath or regulating the breath.
Controlling the breath, okay, that is fine.
Focusing mind on one point.
Focusing the mind. Further. Iha bahya aage kaho. Tell me more.
I think repetition.
No. There is one very famous technique that they say in the meditation schools about the technique for controlling the mind. There's a very famous thing.
Focus the breath, light going through the body, different parts of the body.
Yes, Abhishek. Bring it back. As soon as you become aware that the mind is wandering, bring it back. See, in meditation schools, the goal is to focus the mind, right? Controlling the mind means to focus the mind. But as soon as you notice or you become aware that the mind is wandering, bring it back. Now, is it possible to bring it back like that? Okay, you can bring it back. The moment you bring it back, it will go away again. Okay? So, it is chanchala. It is very unstable. It's very unstable. It does not stay in one place. The only way to control the mind is, because the mind always needs some hook. The hook is smarana. Okay? Develop some favoritism to some shlokas. Develop some favoritism to some form of the Lord. Okay? And whenever you remember that beautiful form of the Lord, whenever you remember a particular shloka glorifying the Lord, it's a hook for the mind. So develop these hooks. Okay? You need to have as many hooks as possible. Then only done. Last 1 minute.
Kids are waiting for cake cutting.
Yes. So 2-3 weeks ago, I gave some homework, and after that, nobody asked that I did the homework. Nobody even remembered about the homework. Yeah, it was too hard. Yeah, I understand. The meaning is hard, and the shloka meter also very hard. So today, I'll give you one simple shloka. You don't even have to understand the meaning. The meaning is self-explanatory, and you can easily memorize. And this can be your hook for the next few days. This can be your hook, and this is the homework for the next class. You should all memorize this shloka, and then tell in the next class. Okay, the shloka is. Oh, they're already cutting. They're practicing. Okay. Okay. So, the shloka for today. Srinarayana Pundarika Nayana Sri Rama Sitapate Govindachyuta Nandana Mukunda Govindachyuta Nandana Ananda Damodara Vishnu Raghava what is the third one? Huh? Vishnu Raghava Vasudeva Nrihare Devendra Chudamane Samsararnava Karnadaraka Sri Krishna Tubhyam Namah. See, all these names, you don't need to understand the meaning. Very easy. And South Indians, North Indians, everybody can connect to this. And it's very beautiful. This is a hook. For the next few days, this will be your hook. I'll send the shloka in the group. You memorize this. You keep. This is from Padyavali. Padyavali. Padyavali is a beautiful collection of shlokas composed by Rupa Goswami. Many shlokas written by Rupa Goswami himself, and other shlokas, some are from Chaitanya Charitamrita, some are from Mukundamala Stotra, some are from other literature. Very beautiful, beautiful shlokas. Okay, so I'll send this, and then with this we will audio. Yes, I'll send the audio of the shlokas. Yes. Okay. Thank you everyone for joining. Hare Krishna. We continue next week. Yeah. Grantara Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.